So every single year, a new iPhone comes out. It's like clockwork. And the main question is always, Tommy, is it worth me actually upgrading? Now, when I make this video, it's not about a tech video or, for example, what are the cool new features? There's always going to be some gimmick. There's always going to be some new reason, whether it's the battery life, the camera, display. There's always some reason to justify you actually getting a phone. Now, this video is not about whether you should get it or not get it. It's more about how do you know if you can actually afford this phone and what do you want to look at during this season, okay? Because there are just right now a lot of companies trying to get in your wallet, including Apple. That's why they do this every single year, trying to get you to upgrade a phone that in reality, it's like 10% faster, but your old phone wasn't slow either. It's like, imagine if every single year, you change your car, you upgraded your car because now cars are 10% faster, but the speed limit is still 60 or 70 miles on a highway, all right? It doesn't matter, okay, for the most part. There are no slow phones. Now, here's my opinion, guys, here. Right now, in my device chamber, I have two iPhones. One is an iPhone SE, 2020 model, and the other one is actually an iPhone 13 mini, okay? I'm just as surprised as you guys. I used to have before an iPhone 14 Pro Max, which I did pay cash for. I paid around $1,100. And that's my first rule for this video. Whenever you're going to be buying a new phone, make sure you're paying 100% cash. And I get it, okay, Tommy, but I'm getting offers left and right from phone companies offering me, for example, hey, if you trade in your iPhone, you get the latest iPhone for free, and we give you those payments within 24 months, okay? Which is kind of crazy. And here's how they actually get you. And by the way, whenever I make these videos, I like to go on these little websites, okay, guys? So right here, let me click around on my computer, is right now the new T-Mobile experience, okay? Here's what they're actually offering. For the most part, it's always the same offer every single year, whether it's usually T-Mobile, Verizon, or AT&T. They're always advertising the new iPhone. Do you guys know why? Because the new iPhone is a time where a lot of people are going to be trying to switch their phones. And in reality, that's a big opportunity for people to also switch companies depending on who's actually offering the best deal. So it usually looks like this. They give you more money for your phone as a trade-in value overall, and then they go ahead and basically give you that trade-in value over a certain amount of time, usually about 24 monthly bill credits. And guess what? If you actually cancel the plan before then you actually don't get the full amount, and then you're liable for the rest of the money that's actually left over. So if a phone costs $1,000 and they're gonna give you the value of that phone over 24 months, if you stop around 12 months, well, you have 12 months more of payments they're not gonna make anymore, so now you have to cover that. And by the way, guess what? I'm noticing this more and more, but phone bills are getting more and more expensive. So you might think like, hey, you have 3 lines. No, let's say you have 1 line and it's just you. Look at this, guys, okay? $100, $90, $60. I remember when phone bills were like $40 and $30. That's why this video is not sponsored by Mint Mobile, but it's the company I always recommend. And by the way, I think T-Mobile actually bought out Mint Mobile. So if you actually are interested in getting yourself a good unlimited plan, I recommend them, okay? Because it's only $15 per month. That will be your phone bill. So here's my main point, guys. If right now you have an iPhone and you want the new iPhone, but you can't afford it, but you're able to trade in to actually go ahead and get the new iPhone within 24 months. Remember, the reason these companies get you is because, hey, they say, hey, we're gonna make an investment here. We're gonna charge them, for example, like $60 for the plan, whatever the extra amount is, we're gonna discount it every single month. But look at this, right? Over 24 months, they made $1,440 from you, and they have a bunch of profits, and they also got your phone, and they got that money. Like, that's the idea, okay? And they're gonna keep you for a long time. And every single year, there's gonna be a new iPhone and a new reason for you to upgrade. Now, am I saying I'm against you actually upgrading your phone? The answer is no. My only rule is, if you're going to be buying a phone, pay cash for it. And on top of that, whenever you're actually going to have the funds to buy a new phone, buy the best phone you possibly can, you like the most. And that's why, believe it or not, I don't consider going from the iPhone 14 Pro Max to the iPhone 13 mini as a downgrade. For me, this phone works amazingly. It's the exact size I actually like. When I had the other phone, I'm not kidding here, my wrist would literally hurt. That's how big and heavy that phone actually was. And the screen obviously was a lot more beautiful. It actually had a dynamic island, which is a cool gimmicky feature, but for the most part, I don't really care. And that phone, was it faster? I can't tell you, on paper, it says it's faster, but in real life, I never had this phone. Honestly, I've never had this phone actually freeze. Now, here's the things I actually look for when I'm looking to buy a phone. It's one, the price is important, obviously. If a phone is super expensive, I'm not gonna go ahead and buy it if I cannot afford to pay for it in cash. The second thing is, when I'm buying a phone, I usually look to buy a used phone because guess what? This new phone just came out, the new iPhone 15 Pro. That means the iPhone 14 is cheaper. That means the iPhone 13 is cheaper. That means the iPhone 12 is cheaper. And then I'm basically able to get a good, decent phone I actually like for a discount by buying it used. And by the way, I buy most of my phones used. The only phone I ever bought brand new was basically a Galaxy S7, which I paid like $700 for. Sounds crazy. And also the iPhone 14 Pro Max, which I also pay cash for it as a gift to myself. But this phone right here, the iPhone SE 2020, I paid $59 for. The phone was destroyed, okay? The screen was cracked. I replaced it for like 20 bucks. The back was cracked. I replaced it for like 20 bucks also. I'm not kidding here. And the phone is basically now in perfect condition, as you guys can actually see. And then this phone right here, I paid $450 for it. But guess what? I sold my $1,100 phone for $1,100, okay? So I'm able to buy this phone, and I even bought, for example, believe it or not, 3 Nintendo Switches for my family, and I still have cash left over. That is the idea, just by doing that one deal, and that deal made a lot of sense for me. Now, the new iPhone 15, okay? What are the major changes? Okay, one big change is the price actually went up for the Pro models, okay? So the Pro model now, the iPhone 15 Pro Max is now $1199, which is like $100 bump, okay? Might not seem like a lot, but I remember when a laptop used to cost $1,200 and above, but now phones also cost over $1,000, and that seems to be normal. You have, for example, a little fancier cameras, you have all-day battery, but for the most part, batteries are pretty good. And you also have the USB-C now, which is awesome in a way because I don't need to carry around that many wires anymore. But if I'm being honest, around my house, I usually just use like MagSafe. So for the most part, even my iPhone SE, this phone, by the way, does not have MagSafe. But what it does have though is wireless charging. So you see right here, if I try to do this, it doesn't stick, right? It doesn't stay whatsoever. It tries to, but it doesn't stick. But I bought this phone with MagSafe from AliExpress. Didn't buy an original one, I'm sorry. It cost me like $3 and boom, I'm able to put it there. I'm able to go ahead and attach my iPhone and it is actually charging, okay? Boom, it's perfect. So around my house, I usually use these, and if I actually use a wire, it's not much of a big deal. So iPhone with the USB-C, cool feature, one cable for everything, but for the most part, it doesn't make me want to buy it. Then you have, for example, the new button that actually came out that actually replaces the mute button right here, and you can actually even customize it to actually go ahead and say, hey, I click the button, the thing turns on or whatever, or I click the button, the camera app opens. It's cool, but am I gonna pay an extra $1,000 to have a button I can customize? The answer is obviously not. Guys, overall, I'm not gonna make this video longer than it has to, but here are my rules, and I say this every single year because every single year we need to be reminded not to fall for the same tricks because these tricks are very enticing. And around this time, even if it's like small little upgrades, you know, we have to admit it, an iPhone is almost like a badge of wealth or authority. When you have a new iPhone for that year, you just kind of seem cooler and feel a little cooler, but it's stupid, okay? So remember my rules and hopefully they actually help you become more wealthy. Rule number one, when you're buying a phone, make sure you pay cash for it. I recommend you buy a used phone, but if you're gonna buy a new phone, still pay cash for it. Number two, don't justify the trade-in value to get yourself into a lousy contract with a crazy company that only cares about profits. Yes, they might be nice when you call them on the phone, but when you try to get out of those deals, they won't be as nice. Trust me on that. And number three is keep the phone for as long as you possibly can until it actually breaks down. Remember, this is a tool. And for the most part, it's a very good tool, but it's also addictive. And you know, most things could still be run fine on an iPhone 11 or even an iPhone 10. My mom has an iPhone XS Max and it still works fine and it's not slow whatsoever. They make great phones, so you don't need to upgrade every single year whatsoever. So for the most part, if you follow those rules, I think you'll be just fine. And why did I change my stance when it comes to buying new phones and buying the best phone you possibly can? It's because if you're going to be holding on to it for a very long time, let's say like 5 years or 7 years, then it makes sense to actually have something you enjoy, okay? That's my whole idea. Now, by the way, there is a big factor here that I actually want to make sure you guys know. When you go to the iPhone and you go over to your settings and you go to battery, you're going to see where it says battery health. One big thing about this phone I'm not a big fan of is that every single day around like 2-3 p.m. I have to charge it because it is a mini and the battery is not that great, and I do use my phone a lot for the most part. I have a little battery MagSafe, so that helps me out of the sun. But for the most part, when you click battery health and charging, it's gonna show you your maximum capacity. Right now, I'm actually at around 86%. And here's the thing. Once it actually goes below that, like 80% or so, the phone is going to start slowing down and is not going to have the same capacity. When that happens, don't think you have to switch your phone out. You don't have to do that. There are third-party batteries that cost like $20 or like 15 bucks. You can replace it, boom, you're back to normal. Now, Apple doesn't like this because they want you to go over to them to replace it, and it costs you like $100. It's crazy. But so when you actually do it and you actually use like a battery that's not from Apple, they're going to give you this message right here. So if I go to settings, this one has a real Apple battery, like an original one. And this one has a third-party battery, which is just fine and works perfectly. But it shows you right here, it shows you important message. We don't recognize this battery. It's an unknown part. It doesn't tell you if the battery is good or bad, like the maximum capacity, but you know battery is going to usually last you about 2 years or so. So every 2 years, I'll replace this battery, or whenever the phone feels like it's basically just losing charge very quickly. So don't be discouraged by what Apple does to kind of go to them and give you signs it's time to replace your phone every 2 years. That's what they want to do. And you notice, guys, most of these like contracts with companies, they tell you, hey, it's 24 months. After 24 months, they're going to have a new iPhone, trade that one in, get the next one. It's just all consumerism. Nothing wrong with buying something you like, but there is something wrong buying something you cannot afford, okay? Getting into a bad contract to do it, and then switching out every single 2 years just for a status symbol. That makes no sense, okay, guys? So thanks for watching this video. I'll be back every single year to remind you guys to look out for these little tricks companies try to use. And as always, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified, and comment down below how many of you guys actually have a mini version of the iPhone. Whenever I hold like an iPhone 14 Pro or an iPhone 14 Pro Max, I literally feel like I'm holding a tablet. This phone for me is perfect. It reaches every single corner. It's light, it's nice. I love these colors. It has everything I need. Only thing I wish it actually had was basically a better battery. But I actually like the battery's not that good because it kind of makes me not use my phone as often. And that to me is important too. So peace, thanks for watching. Good luck, and comment down below, will you be buying the next iPhone? Is it worth it? Is it not worth it? Let me know. Peace.